welcome to the Foxfire Farmhouse. I'm your host, Josh Bartels, joined, as usual, by the one, the only, Elijah Heyman.
What's up?
Whose last name, coincidentally, is the same name as the man in the story last week.
Much hated.
Much hated. And somehow, I did not think about that during the entire episode.
If you named me Eli Heyman, you have two of the worst characters in the Old
True.
Testament.
Yeah,
But you have Elijah though.
We missed
a great character.
There we go. That's
I
true.
think he picks them both up.
Elijah does.
I'll just stay with
Elijah. Would be. We should cast a story of Elijah in the future because
Let's
Elijah is an epic
we could do
character.
Joshua.
Oh, we should do Joshua. And I definitely should not be the one playing the role of Joshua.
All right, Josh is playing Joshua. You heard it here first.
Josh Brolin.
Ah.
Let's do. Okay, so now we're getting into the casting. We need to save that for another episode. But today is the day after Valentine's Day.
Oh.
So
sweet.
I thought I would bring with me some movie quotes. We are going to test Elijah's trivia. Let's see how it goes. So I've got some movie quotes from some classic romantic movies, and we're gonna see if we can pull them.
I fail every time on this show. I swear I'm a great trivia head outside of this show, but as soon as I come in here, this is my kryptonite.
Everything is lost.
This must be
This
lined
basement.
with copper.
It probably
basement.
is. That's what does it every time. It's a Faraday cage for his memories.
Dang it.
All
right.
So here we go. This one, now, full disclosure, I would probably fail. Actually, I know I would fail all of this. So here we go.
All right.
You complete me. What is that from?
Jerry Maguire.
Boom. One for one. Here we go. Setting it straight on the trivia. Here we go. When you realize that you want to spend the rest of your life with somebody, you want the rest of your life to start as soon as possible.
Oh, goodness. I don't know that one. What is that one?
When Harry Met Sally.
I haven't seen that one.
With Rob Reiner starring Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan.
Yep.
So here we go. Another one. If you're a bird, I'm a bird. Where does that come from?
If you're a bird, I'm a bird. Oh, goodness. That's not Forrest Gump, is it?
No.
Oh, okay.
The bummer of having someone like me pick the movie quotes from movies that I have not watched is that this might be a throwaway quote that no one remembers and no one quotes often. And therefore, it's not actually very valuable.
Yeah.
Because this is going to come from a popular one, The Notebook, with Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams.
It's a good one, but I can't watch it. It makes me cry.
No. You have bewitched me, body and soul, and I love you. I never wish to be parted from you from this day on.
Oh, goodness. I know this one.
Would you like a hint? It comes from something you love. A movie you love.
A movie that I love?
Yeah. So this
I know
coming
it's a movie
from a movie
that I
you love. You can't get it wrong here.
Wait, say it again? I'm sorry.
You have bewitched me, body and soul. And I love...
is this Pride and Prejudice?
This is Pride and Prejudice.
This is when Mr. Darcy's in the rain. I know this one. Okay.
He got it. There we go.
Yeah, I got this one.
2 for 4. Last one. I wanted it to be you. I wanted it to be you so badly.
Again, I should know this one. I don't know.
This is from You've Got Mail.
I haven't seen that one.
With Tom Hanks and Meg. You have not seen You've Got Mail.
You've Got Mail, no.
It's a beautiful film.
Have you seen Braveheart yet?
Let's not talk about my movie viewing.
All right, he still hasn't seen Braveheart, people.
We'll get around to that
comments
someday. Below. Please don't hate me. Please don't hate me. Anyway, It's time for some movie news. So, in movie news this week, a new trailer just dropped for Jurassic World Dominion.
Indeed it did.
I am all there for that.
I'm not there.
You're not there.
I'm so far away
Tell me,
from
why
there.
are you not there?
Because
for the new Jurassic World.
All the Jurassic Worlds, the first one was middling. It was okay.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I think I would place it on the same pedestal as Jurassic Park. Maybe. I don't even think I would have it higher than any of the Jurassic Park movies, including 2 and 3. I like both 2 and 3. But yeah, and then the second one just got so much worse Fallen Kingdom was so bad.
It was
just
bad.
so bad.
I'm totally with you there. The Fallen Kingdom was horrible. And so I think maybe that's why I am so there for this one.
Yeah.
Is just because it promises to be something different than that.
Sam Neill's showing up.
When Sam Neill and Laura Dern shows up in the trailer, Jeff Goldblum is back. I'm all about this.
That movie needs to be 100% Jeff Goldblum for me to enjoy it. Like, just needs to be him walking around.
Most movies, if they were 100%
about.
Jeff Goldblum, I'd be all into them.
Yeah. Have you watched The World According to Jeff Goldblum?
I have not.
It's
Is it
great.
good?
It's great.
Yeah.
It's just the weirdest thing ever, but it's awesome.
It's great.
You have to be in the mood.
I love that he showed up in the Thor. What was the last one's name?
He was the Grandmaster in...
Yes, the Grandmaster. That's what he was.
Not the Dark Thor. What is the other one? Ragnarok.
Yeah, Ragnarok. There we go. Yeah, he was amazing. He was just so fun, so quirky. He was Jeff Goldblum. I mean,
he was just playing himself.
You don't need Jeff Goldblum to be anyone else. You just put him in your movie, let him be Jeff Goldblum, dress him up in whatever you want him to wear, and it's going to be a good time. So
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so I'm there for that. We'll see what it actually happens to be. Movies
Hopefully
like this,
good.
You get your hopes up so high because they've got all the people you love, all the lore and the history of the franchise, all riding on this next film. And so either it can be great, or it can fall like Fallen Kingdom.
So they're anticipating it never coming back.
Except it's going to end up doing what Star Wars does and just spin off into,
give it 10 years, come out with a sequel, reboot.
Or a reboot. Yeah. We're going to reboot it. That would be another casting question. It's like if you rebooted the Jurassic Park franchise, then who would you have play?
The T-Rex.
Yeah, the T-Rex. CGI for
Same T-Rex.
The exact same one.
Yeah.
The exact same one that they
Get
used.
rid of the CGI. I don't want it. I just want robots.
So the new Jurassic World will be coming out June 10th of this year. It'll be probably my wife's birthday movie. She's stoked about it. I'm stoked about it. We'll probably go watch it with the family around that time.
So come home and watch a good Jurassic Park movie.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking more the other way around, that we will have a marathon over the course of the
setting it up for failure.
Yeah. Just reminding us how great they were.
Fallen World or what is it? Fallen
Kingdom. Yeah.
Fallen
Watch
Kingdom.
Fallen
There's so
Kingdom
many
right
fallen
before.
things right now. Yeah, watch that one just before, and then it'll be the greatest movie ever.
It'll be epic.
Set your expectations low.
I've got another article here I wanted to talk about. Actually, it's two articles in a pair. One is from October of 2020. The author talks about, his name is Brandon Lewis, and he talks about how the title is Hollywood Needs to Accept Its Streaming Future. Now, this is October 2020, so this is fairly early. What we thought was late in the pandemic at the time, and now it turns out that it was early in the pandemic.
Yeah.
And he was beginning to say, or making the case, that Hollywood needs to accept the fact that streaming is the future, and they are going to have to move their production in that direction.
Yep.
So that's what he was arguing. That's just the short version of what he said in the first article. But he recently, in December, came out with a follow-up article with the same title, except he calls it 1 year later. And in that, he talks about, now that we are a year later, where do things stand? How are things moving? And so he's got some really interesting statistics in here about the different box office hits that did do good. So 2021 top box office grosses were Spider-Man No Way Home with $253 million, Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, $224 million, Venom 2, $212 million, these are not the total. These are the Marvel ones, I guess. Alone. So Black Widow did 183 million. Oh no, it's not just Marvel, because then he's got F9, he's got Eternals at 161, No Time to Die hit 160. So you've got that's his top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 top box office of this year. Mostly Marvel, right? So cashing in on the big properties. They have the kind of money to do big scale productions. Yep. They're not as affected by the pandemic in terms of their capital they can put into movies as other people have been. Yeah. So, they just are in a different scenario. Those are doing well. People aren't, and he kind of makes the case that basically it looks like people aren't wanting to get out of home to watch something that is not a guaranteed success that I definitely want to watch in the theaters.
It's definitely like he's saying. Yeah. I think I only went out to go see like some of the bigger budget films. Like I think I saw Shang-Chi. Yep. And then No Time to Die. I saw Dune.
Yep. I saw quite No Time to Die, and Spider-Man, I think, are perhaps the only three that I watched. I think that those. I think I watched a couple of those twice.
Mhm.
So, but still, even watching a couple of them twice meant I ignored other movies I could have watched to go watch it the second time. He says that adult dramas didn't work, and he compares that $253 million from Spider-Man: No Way Home, the top dog, to $43 million for House of Gucci, which was a pretty big movie in terms of adult drama. And then you've got a lot of the other ones here that are Oscar contenders right now that sit under. So 43 is the highest, and it goes 24, 15, 10. I mean, these are abysmal numbers for them to be looking at. What other things that didn't go so well were musicals. They didn't compete. So In the Heights is down at under 40 million.
Oh, yeah.
You've got West Side Story down there as well. Movies that should have been a shoe-in.
It's Spielberg production.
Yeah, you've got Spielberg, Lin-Manuel Miranda. These should have been big, huge productions. Ended up not being so. So you've got a real disastrous year for movies. In fact, he says he has a statistic here that out of the movies that were made this year, only 11 grossed more than 100 million. That was in 2021. In 2019, let me pull up the exact statistic here, but I believe it was 29 from 2019. So only 2 years ago. Yeah. It's almost 3 times the number of movies that were raking in more than 100 million.
Yeah.
And that's just not going on right now.
Nope.
And I just bring that up because it just really kind of puts some data to the fact that Hollywood and the typical theater release structure is crumbling.
Yep.
And that streaming, we all feel that streaming is the future because that's what we're doing, but it's not just a feeling that you have because this is where you're watching movies. Everyone is doing this now.
I think it's just like everyone's now realizing what exactly was like more volatile investments than others. Like Hollywood is one of the most volatile in terms of how much money gets invested into something, and it can be great returns, but you can risk a lot and then have such big failures. And the same thing with just everything else in our society right now. There's
and
a lot
in some ways, this is exciting news because it means that since streaming is kind of the name of the game, that it kind of shakes up how funding has been happening and how it will continue to happen, which means that different filmmakers will begin to get access to funds, and that means different movies will come out. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we'll see the big time, Marvel blockbuster style. Yeah. But that we'll begin to see more. I think as we move to the indie route, we'll begin to see more creativity, more experimentation, more interesting stuff coming out. So
I'm excited for that.
Yeah, so we should be watching for that, and of course, as we see those kinds of things, we'll probably end up talking about them on the podcast at some point in the future.
Indeed, we will.
Yep. Well, let's move on.
Cool things.
What have you been finding that is cool this week?
I have been finding the season finale of The Book of Boba Fett really cool. Such a good. Well,
if you spoil the season finale,
I will not say anything. I will not say anything on the show because most people haven't started watching it until now because they heard about certain things that are in the show.
That's actually exactly how it happened for me. So I said don't spoil it. But I'm
just to get people to watch it.
Yeah, that people shared images of Luke, the man Skywalker.
Yeah, Luke the Man Skywalker, and he looks much better than he did in the last series. I think they watched Corridor Digital do much better than they did, and then they're like, "That we can't let these guys do it." Or they might have. I don't know if they hired them or not, but maybe they did because it looks great and it plays really well. Like the action's really seamless. Like there's only a couple times I was kind of like, but it looked really, really good. And also you get to see that beloved little Grogu, which makes me so happy.
Happy days.
But I won't spoil anything else.
Takes us back to happier moments in the world.
Yes. Mandalorian. Good times. But
that's exactly why I picked it back up. And so far I've been actually really enjoying it. Although I have to say, I am on the cusp of, I was on the cusp until you started recommending it, saying it was so good, of quitting it at, I guess we're on episode 4, I believe, 3 or 4. And it just seems to be kind of losing steam. It's not really going anywhere. He's just trying to maintain his kingdom. He's got the motorcycle gang now, like with him. And
you felt like they're grasping at straws a little bit.
Yeah, not sure where they're going.
Well, they thought that like you can tell in the series that they kind of feel like, oh no, we're losing it, and so they grab onto everything. So when you get to the season finale, the amount of like Star Wars nerding that happens with callbacks and characters and vehicles, and it's intense. But it made me super happy as being a huge Star Wars nerd. It rewarded all of my many years of watching animated shows and
it'll pay off
movies
on all of that.
Over and over again. I'm like, I know who that is.
Awesome.
But yeah, it turned out really well. But it's not what I would have expected if you had told me Robert Rodriguez is doing the Book of Boba Fett. I would have expected something a lot more intense.
Yeah.
But you do get that flavor. I think you talked about it, like that south of the border Western, where you got like the true gritty Western.
Like El Mariachi or, something like that.
Where it's a bit more gritty. There's cartel. There's all these Dynamo respect kind of things going on, double crossing. But it's visually great, and it rewards you finishing the series.
Awesome. Good.
So
well, it
finish
sounds
the
like
series,
I'm gonna have to
everyone.
finish it then.
Or start it. The first episode, that turned a lot of people off, but you just got to keep going.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
I just read a book. What I've been finding cool is a book I read by a man named Chris Wiley. C.R. Wiley is how his pen name works.
Sounds familiar.
And he wrote a book called In the House of Tom Bombadil.
Ooh.
And it is an examination of the character of Tom Bombadil in the Lord of the Rings series. And if you have only ever watched the movies, then you don't know who Tom Bombadil is because he didn't show up in the movies.
If you read the books, it's the chapter you skip.
It's the one that you don't know what's going on, and so you're wondering, what in the world does this have to do with anything? The imagine, if you will, the Lord of the Rings movie is playing, and suddenly there's a man in a big bright blue coat with
just skipping about,
bright yellow rubber boots, just skipping about, singing.
Big old hat.
So he's and a massive beard, like everyone has.
He punches necromancers to death or whites,
and he's just singing and just kind of bumbling around through the forest. That's this character. So if that seems out of place, then you're right. It does seem very well out of place. And a lot of people apparently don't know what to do with Bombadil. I having only read this book series once myself, he was definitely an odd character, but I can't say I really thought much about him. I just kind of ignored him. But
it's a lot of singing.
What Wiley kind of argues for and demonstrates is that he is kind of the paradigm of everything put right, and that he's the way things should be. And the book is marvelous. It's great writing. It really engages you, and it makes Bombadil matter to you, even if you've never. I think even if you had never read the book and just knew the character, I think it'd be the kind of thing that would make Bombadil really interesting to you.
Yeah.
And that he deals with the ways people have interpreted Bombadil in the past, and makes a case for his view of him.
Yeah.
And it really ends up being an inspiring book that at the end of it you're like, man, I want to be Bombadil. I want to aspire to end where he's ending, or have the kind of rest that he has. Yeah. And it was just a delightful little book. It's a short book. You can get it from Amazon or anywhere else you get books.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, check it out. We went over that a little bit in my schooling. We read Lord of the Rings, so my teacher loved Tom Bombadil.
Oh, wow, nice.
Yeah, so he had similar opinions. I had to read that book.
That's awesome.
I still came out of it kind of going, but it's all these songs I don't want to listen to or read.
Right.
But it was cool watching him destroy some whites, though.
Yes, absolutely.
And now, our feature presentation.
Today being the day after Valentine's Day, we thought we would tackle a popular genre of movies, that being the romance movie. And there are all sorts of romance movies.
So many.
What's your experience of romance movies?
My experience is a lot of experience with romance movies.
Good.
I was
an expert.
From the cradle to now, I've been educated on romance movies.
Nice.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of different kinds. There's so many different kinds. You got regular romance movies, period piece romances. You got the BBC is kind of its own thing, and then you got like rom-coms. There's so many different romances. There's movies with romance in them, but I think romance movies where romance is kind of the center of the plot, kind of dictates the arc of the story.
Yeah. So what do you think then makes for a good romance movie?
A good romance movie.
Yeah.
Well, let me look to this old dictionary definition that I took a picture of.
Hey.
Yeah, it's a Webster's dictionary from, I think it's from 1942, 1945.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Pretty old. Not the oldest one I've seen.
Yeah.
But it talks about in music how to define romantic style music, and I think it fits with film. So it says, in music, characterized by the strength of feeling rather than by the strict adherence to the laws of form, passionate, expressive, imaginative, applied to composers, their productions, or their styles. So as far as romance movies, I think what dictates them in a good romance movie is kind of the passion behind it and the feeling that you get off of the film, more than just like, this character loves this character and this happens, because there's really dry romance movies out there and romantic books and things like that, like even classics that are read pretty dry.
Yeah.
But I think for me, the ones that I really enjoy, they have a life to them and they inspire you to be, like, as a man, more romantic toward my wife, or for those. And when I wasn't married to my wife, it inspired feelings for me that I saved for my wife. And that way, when I got there, like, I had an education on, this is what being a gentleman is. This is what being romantic toward a lady looks like. And I feel like I was served very well by having a good education as far as movies
That's
concerned with romance. Because you can have a terrible education based off of some
absolutely
horrible romantic movies. There's plenty out there, which we'll talk about.
Yeah, it doesn't take much to go wrong there, just because it doesn't take much to go wrong with love either.
No,
in terms of just a regular real life romance.
Yeah.
And so there are pitfalls all along the way. And I think some of the best romance movies probably do that. They probably show you some of those pitfalls and kind of how to avoid them. So what would you say then? Because I don't have a lot of experience with romance movies. My mom and my sister would watch them growing up, and often that was the time that I left the room.
Yep.
I went and found something to do. I was outside. I was building with Legos. It wasn't where I wanted to be at the moment. I would much rather be watching something with heavy action or some kind of mystery.
Something like Braveheart.
Yes, exactly. Something like Braveheart.
Like Braveheart, yeah.
Just not Braveheart, apparently.
Some kind of action film, Band of Brothers, something like
like a good war movie, Saving Private Ryan, Gladiator, something along those lines. Like that was what I would rather watch. I didn't have time for the ooey gooey romance movies. I didn't want to hear those.
Yeah.
But so I didn't watch a ton of them as a kid. The ones I did watch that I enjoyed were almost always romantic comedies, and they were always classical romance, I guess. But what though, in your experience, made up a good, like, what were the kinds of romance movies that you enjoyed?
Kinds of romantic movies that I enjoyed. I think, my favorite movie of all time is Pride and Prejudice, like the Keira Knightley version. And it's kind of like the epitome of like I think it hits all those points that I was talking about in the definition, in terms of it evokes that feeling and just everything about that movie. And that's why it's a good romance. It is because the movie is, first off, beautiful. It's just a gorgeous looking movie. And it's got great acting. It's got real acting. But for me, like, what makes a great romantic movie is when it's kind of real. It has like tangible things about it. And it kind of makes a distinction between being falling in love and that lovey-doveyness and real love. And it shows like action put to feelings, and it shows situations where that's tested, and it shows situations where it's failed. Like in the movie, this story's been out forever, so I'm not going to spoil anything by spoiling Pride and Prejudice, as I'm sure the entire audience has seen some form of it. That's why I love Pride and Prejudice, is because not Jane. What is it? Dang it. What's the main character's name? Not Jane.
In Pride and Prejudice?
I'm not Pride and Prejudice.
So I've never watched that one.
Oh man, I'm never going to live this down. Anyway, Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth, because she's Elizabeth in Pirates of the Caribbean as well. Elizabeth, she doesn't like Mr. Darcy to start with, and she like hates him. But through his actions and what he does for her family and how he takes care of things, she learns that he's a great guy, and that he is honorable, and that he looks out for his friends. He looks out for those around him. He's not easily swayed by ladies. He's respectable. He fails at times to do things that are pleasing to her, in terms of kind of ruining her sister's marriage. But she figures out that whole thing was because he was protecting his friend. and he read the situation wrong, and they're able to talk through it. And so like it's just the whole thing of this reality of like that's what real love looks like, is getting down, arguing, going, oh man, I was wrong, and then like, oh man, I was wrong, and then but I still love you, and I can see all the things that you've done. That's like that to me makes a good romance, is when like things are tested and you see people come out of it loving each other more.
Interestingly, and not surprisingly, that reminds me of another one of her books that have been adapted into a movie, and that was Emma, just recently. And it was a beautiful, really fun movie. I really enjoyed that one. But it had that same type of romantic vibe where then you've got a young lady who is really full of herself. And it shows that being full of yourself isn't good for romance. No. And you have to let go of being full of yourself to come around to finally find that love that she was wanting, that she didn't want, that she really did. Yeah. And so it's just, I think that it's not surprising that romance movies, because they are dealing with common themes of romantic love in real life, then have that ability to evoke so much emotion and to instruct us so well. Like we were talking about a couple weeks ago, it has that ability to help shape our imagination, like you were saying, where when you came to find Abby and started pursuing her, that there was you had some kind of imagination, some kind of visualization of what it looked like to be a romantic person, to be a gentleman to her, to love her and care for her needs above your own. And obviously there is always learning, and we always are moving forward in those ways, but that those images we have from movies can sometimes shape the way we handle romance in the real world.
It's like it dictates those points of, it's just like action when like we were talking about, when somebody comes out after you with like a knife, you had that split second to go, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna grab that knife, because I've seen movies, I've read stories that this is what you're supposed to do to protect like if you're with a lady, this is what you do to protect a lady, you do this, is like you protect it, you get in the way. Is something that's learned through story. And same thing with like pursuing somebody, you're like, oh, she dropped something, well, I'm gonna reach down and pick it up for her before she feels obligated to do it. I'm gonna pay for the bill, because I've seen that's just what men do.
And it seems to me, so to back out into like good and bad categories of love stories. So in my limited experience, it seems to me that the good love stories always, like any good story would, tells the truth about the thing it's talking about, in this case being love. Yeah. Whereas the bad ones are the ones that are just pure fantasy wish fulfillment, right? That's just like, we want to show you get to be full of yourself and get the guy, or you get to be full of yourself and still be the guy that all the women want, right? Like you
get to be creepy, and still the lady will follow after you, or she'll be attracted to your creepiness.
Exactly, right? Twilight. Somehow. yeah. We're looking at you, Twilight.
We're looking at you, Twilight, standing in her bedroom, staring at her sleeping.
Over there in the corner.
What a weirdo. Like, that's creepy. That's not something that, like...
Don't do it.
Don't do that. Don't wish for that. Like, that's terrifying. That's like a father's worst nightmare.
Yeah, like, it's bizarre, but that's the kind of thing that we have to be careful for, because our hearts so badly want life to work like that. We want to be able to be the pouty little selfish brat who demands of this woman or of this man that they do exactly what we want, and that they are there to serve our needs. Yep. That's what we want. And so when there's a story that tells us, hey, you can maintain that selfish attitude and get all that you want,
whatever you want,
then we want that to be true. Yeah. And so we can easily buy into that and love those kinds of movies, and hate the ones that are more conflicted, and it's harder, and it's more gritty and back and forth, and there's the change and the humbling that has to happen in order for the couple to get together. We might not want those. Yeah. But those are the ones that are telling us the truth about the way the world is.
Honestly, those are the timeless ones. Like, those are the ones that stick around. Like, just thinking about like the distinction between like what men find, like what men want and what ladies want, when you have like rom-coms compared to like action movies, and the men in action movies, and they do these great acts, and they're like, oh, respect me, woman, and they get what they want from the woman. She's like, oh, I love you so much. And whereas like, the reverse in like these rom-coms or whatever, and the woman's being all like all whatever she is, and then the man just kind of comes alongside her. I think and and she just like completely disregards everything that he's ever done and destroys his career or whatever. And yet the man still shows up. Like it's a give and take. Like those are the best movies, is when one person like kind of messes up another person's stuff and it's just a mess. And then through it, the two like come together and love each other. Not
because
like
that's exactly
I'm
what
off
happens.
doing my thing and follow me, and I'm off doing my thing and follow me and give me what I want.
Yeah.
Like what you're saying. It's just the two need to come together and truly like kind of.
That's why. So I love You've Got Mail. It's one of the few like rom-coms that I love going to, or that I know I would go to, I should say. There's probably others that I would enjoy that I just have not experienced yet, and I need to add to my repertoire. But You've Got Mail. You've got a couple who communicate with each other online. The whole plot is that Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan's character, Tom Hanks is a big box store, like think Barnes and Noble bookstore. Yeah. And Meg Ryan is like the little shop on the corner bookstore. Okay. And so he's bringing in the big box store to town, and it's going to shut her business down, as you know, everyone's saying that's how it's going to happen. But they're also on AOL Instant Messenger, and they chat all the time, and they're kind of falling for each other in the virtual world, but in the real world, they hate each other's guts. Yeah. But they don't know that it's each other. Okay. And so the movie happens and things are moving forward, and there's this conflict between them while there's also this growing love interest between them online. And then finally in the middle of the movie, they meet or get ready to meet. And then Tom Hanks realizes that it's actually her. And then now all of that, like, what do I do? Is exactly what you're saying, that they've been like, he's been wrecking her life and she's making his life miserable. And they're both like causing a problem for each other, and they have to come around and get over themselves to start helping one another. Yeah. And when they do that, that's when they find love. And that's when, like that quote from the movie where she's like, I wished it was you, or I was hoping it was you. Yeah. Is that by the end of it, he won her. And then they go to meet again, and this time it's actually the two people are the same person. There's integrity, right? For the first time, and everything works out. That's awesome. And yeah, it's a wonderful story. Really quirky, really fun. Yeah. And but it's that kind of thing that you're saying. And that's what happens in real marriages. My wife messes up my life, and I mess up my wife's life, and we have to get over that and get through our conflicts, work it out, and work together as a team to overcome the obstacle.
And it takes one coming in to, like, it's 100% is how it should be. But most of the time it starts with one person initiating it. Yeah. Because you have that moment where you're like, oh, we're both angry, we're both upset, and it always takes that one to cross the bridge and give 100% to come over and kind of help pull the other one out. Yeah.
So romance movies are a blast because they tell the story. And I think this is why the romantic comedy is so fun, is because in the comedy, it pokes fun at those those quirks and idiosyncrasies of men and women and their differences and the ways those differences clash. Yeah. Just the way people clash, right? Like it pulls all those things together and lets you laugh at things that in the real world aren't always so funny. They can get super tense, you know?
But like it gives you that feeling of like, oh, looking back, oh yeah, remember when we did that?
Yeah,
like, we've had that fight before. Yeah. It looks stupid. Like it shows you how stupid it looks when you're watching it.
And so what's petty, and this is something that a guy I like to listen to, Nate Wilson, always says, is like, what kind of character are you supposed to be? Like if you were looking at yourself objectively and saying, I'm a character in a story, what character are you? And when we look in a story, like in a rom-com, we can see the person who's being super petty and like just a little kid screaming, you know, we can see that. But when it's our own life, well, suddenly, well, no, I'm justified. This is, I have the right to demand my way, you know, for whatever reason. Yeah. When really we're just being the petty kid, you know, throwing a fit because he can't get a toy at Walmart. You know, that's all we are.
Exactly. Yeah. There's such a good genre, and that's one thing that I appreciate about good ones, is that they give a good pairing of people too. Like you can see that they go to, like, Young Victoria is like one of my favorite examples of, like, it's like my second favorite romantic movie with Emily Blunt, and it's just a great one. It's better than the BBC version. Again, it's just beautifully shot, great score, great acting, everything about it is great. And you have a strong female character, and it's about Victoria, and it's a true story. It's about her having all these people come in and try to take her throne from her, and through either through marriage or through like parental relationships and all these different things. And what like the kind of man it took to win her was a strong man. Like you have a strong character, and I think what's her face Cohen? What's her first name? Is it Caitlin Cohen, the one who wrote The Winter King? Just talked about
Christine.
Christine Cohen. She brought up this point about the characters that she writes in her books, because there's always some form of romance in the 2 books that she had. Is that if she usually has a very strong female character, and for her, that dictates that she needs a strong male character to take care of that female character. It's not going to be a marshmallow, because that marshmallow is going to get crushed. And so when you see in Victoria and young Victoria, is you have this very unusually strong like character that was supposed to be in there, like on this secret diplomatic thing, who had a very strong character and resisted that political game.
Okay,
and just went, hey, I love you, and I'm going to be your husband. And then when she tries to be like, well, I'm the queen, he's like, well, I'm still your husband. And whenever anybody tried to jump in, like he loved her for who she was, outside of all of this,
the trappings
of being a monarch.
Yeah.
And still desired and communicated that he wanted the things that were due to him as being her husband. And just the interplay between the two of them is funny, but it's just a very true and very beautiful movie.
Yeah. That's cool.
But yeah.
There's so much that can be communicated in a love story. And like I think of, even we've talked about La La Land before, and the type of that's there's another example of love. And in the end, like we've talked about, they both held on to their dreams. They wanted to do their own thing, and they lost what they could have had.
Yeah, it shows you the cost of that.
Yeah, there is a real cost to that, and I think that's the movie does brilliantly. So
in credits,
we're crying here. So while we're crying, we're gonna just fade out into see you next week. Yeah. So romance stories, they have a lot to tell us, a lot to teach us, and then this shouldn't be surprising, because at the center, at the core of the story of the universe is a love story between Christ and his bride. Exactly. And he is redeeming his bride back to himself. And what Paul says in the New Testament is that what we didn't realize all along is that every romance points towards that one. That there is a mystery in marriage, and that is that it is pointing to the thing. Marriage is in some ways a shadow of the real thing. Yeah. Marriage is not the real thing, and that God uses it to use as a metaphor for his Christ's relationship to the church. It's actually, no, Christ is has a relationship to the church. And marriage is a metaphor for that. Yeah. And so every one of our romances, every one of our marriages, however broken and with all their baggage, are all telling a story. Yeah. And they are reflecting ultimately the story of Christ loving his bride and giving himself for her. Boom. So that's why romance movies matter, is because romance is at the center of everything. Yeah. And
that's so true. That's the thing I love about romance movies as well, is that like nobody's like one marriage, like with all of its problems and all of its positives, like represents like the picture perfectly.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's what's cool about watching romantic movies and watching these things, is that you get to see that everyone's relationship is different. Everyone, like the people who fall for each other, are different than you. So the more that you see, and just in life and just being in a church or whatever, you can see different people getting together, and they get together in different ways, and they have different things that they appreciate from each other, and different strengths that they have. And that's another aspect of where that just helps you build that romantic vocabulary for those who are married, and those who are looking to be married. And just growing up is just, they get to see more examples of a good romance and a good relationship. Yeah. And something I just thought of now
or a bad relationship. Random observation is that I didn't love romantic movies as a kid, but I really love them now that I'm married and have a wife and kids, right? Like that, like you're saying, the ability to look at yourself through another person's lens and see, oh, okay, that's our romance. Like you were saying about that being our story, that there's something different that endears me to, I'm way more likely to watch a romantic movie now. Yeah. Right. And because it's a fun experience that I can watch with my wife, and we can laugh together at other romances that are just tanking. We're like, oh yeah, we know what that's like, or we know how close we've been to that kind of a problem. So yeah, romance movies are a great thing to do. They're perfect Valentine Day.
Oh yeah.
Activity. So if you missed Valentine's Day and you are just listening to the podcast and you're like, oh snap, I forgot to do anything for Valentine's Day, and if your wife really cares about that, then bring home a big tub of ice cream. What else I don't know what else.
Some candles, some chocolates.
Yeah, candles and movie popcorn.
Yeah,
those go together.
It's an easy little little Valentine's Day.
Crack out the You've Got Mail or Pride and Prejudice.
That's a good one.
And you'll show your wife that you love her, and you might even enjoy yourself. You might even enjoy the movie.
Don't watch terrible.
Yeah, don't go watch
movies.
garbage movies. I don't have any great examples of garbage. Do you have a good example of like a garbage?
I mean, even those are fun sometimes to watch together.
There is a reson that sometimes fun
like
garbage
Twilight is a terrible example, but it's sometimes fun to watch.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, there's bad ones out there. But anyway, just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Enjoy watching them.
Indeed. Well, if you've got a favorite rom-com or romantic movie that you like and would like to have us watch, it'll go right there on the list below Braveheart.
Yep.
And
you will watch Braveheart.
I might get to it one day. So
eventually.
Yeah, one day in the distant future. Is Braveheart a romantic movie?
No.
No. Okay.
Well, I mean, it has romance in it, but like, I don't know. I don't think that's its strongest point.
It's called Braveheart. Is that like hearts that are brave in love?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, it's just
sorry.
He's
I
just
misunderstood
brave.
this
Well,
movie.
I mean, like, yeah. I mean, the whole thing is just like basically
the heart of courage, heart of
his
steel.
lady was killed by Englishmen, and so he's like, oh,
I'm
freedom.
coming.
Yeah, I'm coming.
So it's like a revenge.
Yeah.
It's like a revenge romance.
Yeah.
It's
like John Wick.
It's a romance movie.
Yeah.
So go
John
watch
Wick is a romance movie.
Go watch Braveheart with your wife.
Jeez. That's a great romantic movie. I'm sure she'll enjoy it.
Every Valentine's Day. Bust that one out.
Watch Braveheart.
Yep. And Braveheart and John Wick. And then there you go.
Yeah, Die Hard's also a good romance movie. That's a great one.
That's a good romance.
Actually, I mean, the two of them work out their marital problems through that movie.
They do.
They figure out that they appreciate and love each other.
Yeah, that's true. So the moral of the story is
Die Hard is a Valentine's
go to your
Day
wife's
movie and
Christmas
a Christmas
banquet.
movie.
It's the movie for all seasons.
Yep.
It's an Easter film. There's probably redemption and resurrection somehow in there. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
And then it came back.
Ho, ho, ho.
Halloween? Okay.
No, I have a machine gun. Anyway.
Okay. All right. Well, this has been another episode of Foxfire Farmhouse. We are
lost.
glad that you have showed up here in the farmhouse and hung out with us again. If you have ideas for future episodes, if you want to join us on the podcast, if you want to call in randomly, not really. I don't know.
Just call it this technology yet.
Yeah, we'll get there eventually. But we'd love to hear from you if you have any thoughts or comments. Be sure to like and subscribe and do all the things that they say to do with podcasts.
Yeah.
And
5 stars.
5
iTunes.
stars. Yes.
Write a review.
Write a review.
Write some
Tell
comments
us.
on YouTube.
Yeah.
We've been watching them. We got comments.
Yep.
So it's pretty cool.
Hit us up, and we will see you next time here at the Foxfire Farmhouse.
See y'all.